Usually when I get a wild idea for an experiment, I want to try it right then and there. And if I don't have the right materials, I usually just use what I have on hand, even if it does look a little like I'm tying spaghetti noodles together. But I needed rubber bands for this idea. All I have on hand is an old bungee cord. So we're giving it a go. This is my latest try at adding texture to my resin wine glasses. Now, I have been successful with a few different ways, and you can look at my past videos on my profile for those. What I'm aiming for this time are like zigzaggy lines, like vapor trails that you see in the sky. And I'm sure there are a zillion different ways to achieve the same thing, but you don't know if you don't try, right? So for this glass, I wrapped the rubber strand around the glass first and then applied a layer of resin. I'm using Let's Resin Fast Cure for this project, and I'm tinting it with KS Resin turquoise resin dye, which is my favorite. The turner that I'm using, when I say turner, this is a cup turner or a tumbler turner. You can find loads of them on Amazon. The particular one that I use, I'll have a link to it in the description below. They don't have the 4-arm turner like what I use, but they do have a 2-arm turner, and I have a link to that as well in the description. The second glass is going to get a layer of resin first, and then I'm going to let that firm up for a couple of hours, just to let it get a little firm but not sticky. I want it tacky but not sticky, if that makes sense. And then after a couple of hours, I just turned the arm off, put my gloves on, turned the turner arm off, and then felt that would be a little bit easier to wrap the string around instead of fighting the glass as it was turning. And then originally I was going to let these cure overnight and then pull the rubber bands off, but I was getting a little bit paranoid that the resin was going to cure on this first one before I could pull the rubber off. Now, I wasn't 100% sure that this technique was going to work anyway, so I wanted to pull the rubber bands off before everything really got cured and hard. And I am having the hardest time pulling that rubber band off, even with the resin still tacky. So this is after probably 5 hours. And in hindsight, I really should have put gloves on, but y'all, I did not think it was going to be like sticky bull snot. I really thought that the rubber band was just going to pull right off. But you have to remember, I'm using bungee cord rubber, not a rubber band. So bungee cord strands, I did not know this, but bungee cord strands are really, really thin, almost like vermicelli noodles. Pulling the rubber off of the second glass was so much easier. I just let the turner run, grab the end of it, and then just pulled it off almost in one piece. So if I do this technique again, and I'm sure I will, I had a little problem there, but if I do this technique again, this is definitely the way to go, is to add the layer of resin and then do the rubber band on top of the resin. I did let these cure overnight. The first glass where I put the resin on top of the rubber band, very, very rough. I have a lot of rough spots, a lot of raised areas. The second glass where I put the rubber band on top of the cured resin or partially cured resin, much better result, although I still have rough edges. And I kind of expected that because I'm not really using the right material. I'm using a bungee cord, for heaven's sake. So I am going to try it again. I'm going to use a different material. But to get the rough edges off, it's just sandpaper. That's all it is. Just rough it up with some sandpaper, get all the rough edges off. It's very, very easy. And it really didn't take that much sanding at all to just get the rough edges off. I'm not trying to take away take away all of the texture. I still want the texture. I just don't want the rough spots because I really, really actually really like the way these look because the lines kind of look like waves in the ocean. So I'm going to take advantage of that and add a little bit of bling bling, add some turtles and some starfish with UV resin and my curing light. I'll have all the links in the description below. And then one final top coat of the Let's Resin Fast Cure, and that brings the shine back. You do not see any scratches whatsoever. What I like about this is that you still feel the texture and you can see very clearly the lines. So this is definitely a technique that I am going to be trying again, but definitely with better materials. So Here is what they look like all finished. I really, really am happy. It was just, an experiment just to see if it would work. I didn't really have any expectation. And you don't learn unless you try. So if you get an idea, just give it a try and you might be surprised. I'm really excited about trying this again with, obviously different materials and better materials next time. So let me know what you think in the comments and let me know if you think I should try this again and if you have any ideas on how to make it better. Mr. Krabs approves.